Hi, this is Vic Dorfman from Just Record It, justrecord.it, and in this video you're going to get an onboarding, a very general overview of how FreshDesk works and what it's capable of and sort of how you use it on a general level. So here we are in a FreshDesk inbox, and a lot of these settings are self-explanatory, but let's just go ahead and start with looking at this left-hand side here where it says filter tickets. And I'm going to uncheck all of these filters so that all of the tickets that we have are going to be visible. Now, typically this is set to default as the tickets whose status are open are the ones that appear. So that way you only see new tickets basically. But I'm going to uncheck that, and that way we're going to see a bunch of tickets. Now, a lot of these are just kind of not proper tickets. They're just emails I've received in this inbox. But that's okay because we're going to treat them as if they were proper tickets, and we'll also create a few tickets. Now, if I click on this email here, you can see, actually before I click on it, you can see here that it says agent, status, and priority. I never really worry about priority. This is something that you may wish to explore in your business. I kind of treat all support tickets as important, and they should all be resolved within a reasonable time frame. So I don't really worry about kind of bothering our team with priority stuff. And if it's really so important, then I'll just take care of it on the spot, or somebody on our team will take care of it on the spot, presumably. Now, agent, so we can have, in our inbox right now, we just have myself and Roland, who's our audio engineer. And so this is Roland's agent right here, or his agent name right here, and myself is me. So you can assign tickets directly from the inbox to an agent. Status is open, and obviously you can check several emails at once and perform an action on them. Like you can assign them, close them, delete them. One thing that FreshDesk lacks, and I've contacted them about this to ask this as a feature request, is if you have hundreds upon hundreds or thousands of support tickets and you just want to delete all of them or close all of them, there's no way to do that currently. You can only perform the bulk actions on all of the tickets on one screen. You see, so if there were multiple pages, we'd have to go one page at a time. And that's obviously not convenient, but in any case, if we click on this email, okay, all it is, it's just a recap of our sending statistics. We haven't sent any emails this week, so there aren't any. We sent 8 emails, I guess, when we were testing our submission forms. And by the way, we use Mailjet as our email delivery service. So you can use your host's email account, or you can use something like Mailjet or something like Mandrill app. We use Mailjet. Okay, now here in the first thing that you should always do when you open a ticket, and I've tried to find a way to do this by default, is click on the show activities and set it to yes. Because what this will show is it will show all of the actions that you and other agents have performed on a given ticket. And that's really important because if you're picking up a ticket after another agent has addressed it or sent a reply, then you're going to want to see what they said and what, if any, actions they performed. And when I say actions, I mean something like setting the priority, or setting the status, or adding a tag. Okay? And I find tags to be really important, so let me just briefly talk about this. A tag is just a way to sort of remember or identify the ticket. So if this were a refund request, I'd type refund request. And I would type it for every ticket that was a refund request. And what that would allow you to do is going back to the dashboard here and clicking on tickets, it would allow you to go to tags, and all of the tags that you would ever typed will be available here. So lead, sign up, and I didn't actually update the ticket that we just looked at with refund request, which is why it doesn't show up here. But if I had, it would show up here. Otherwise, I can click on leads, okay, and it'll identify all of the emails that I had tagged with the leads tag. This allows you to just really quickly search for things and identify various emails that way. Okay, so let's go back to this ticket. Still using the same ticket as an example. Now, another useful item here is here where it says recent tickets. If you click on that, it'll show you a history of all the tickets submitted by this individual. Now, this is an automated email, so no individual actually submitted this, but if it were an individual, then you would basically see all of the emails that they'd ever sent us, and you can quickly tell whether you'd addressed a concern previously, because a lot of times what happens is that your customers or your clients will send you the same email several times, particularly if they deem it to be an emergency or if it's the weekend and they're not aware that you don't have office hours during the weekend and they think maybe you didn't receive it. So in that case, all you have to do is reply to one of the tickets and then close the other tickets, because there's no need to create duplicate replies for your customers. Now, agent, this is another really useful thing to do, and this is something that I would recommend as the very front line whenever you look at a new ticket. Okay, let's say you have more than one agent and you're not doing all of the support yourself. Well, for example, if this were a refund request and I'm not running the refund system, or I'm not running the payment processor stuff, that's all our tech guy, then what I would do is I would simply say, okay, this is a refund request, then that means that the most appropriate person to handle it is Roland, okay, or whoever does your refund requests. Or if it's an issue that pertains to leads, then you want to assign it to your salesperson or to the founder or whoever is doing lead management and sales. And in this manner, you can very quickly let the people who should be performing a given task perform it. In other words, you're not wasting your time doing something that you're not really good at. You're just giving it to the people who need to do it. Let's go back to this email here and say, let's just look at a few of these options. Again, these are self-explanatory. Like, you can watch the ticket, which means that, okay, you want to see what's going on with the ticket and you're going to receive email alerts when the ticket is updated. Okay, I'm going to actually delete that. I don't want to get those email alerts. You can reply here, you can forward, you can add a note. Notes are somewhat useful because if you have a question for another agent, before you can reply to a ticket, you just make the note and then make sure that it's not visible to the customer and click no down here. Okay, now I'm not going to belabor all of these items here because, again, they're pretty intuitive, I think. You just play around. But what isn't quite as intuitive, but what constitutes, in my opinion, the primary reason to use FreshDesk, or any help desk for that matter, is the automation functionality. Now, first and foremost, actually, before we get to the automation, I want to look at a few of these admin options. Okay, so let's click on email. Now, this lets you sort of set some general options. Do you want agents to be able to initiate conversations with customers? Well, yeah, you probably do. So you click yes. Use agent names in ticket replies and outbound emails. Now, if you want all of your help desk emails to appear as if they're coming directly from you and not from an agent, then you would select no. And that way, anytime somebody emails, for example, if your business is very heavily tied to your personal brand, and if people want to deal with you directly, then you can give them the experience of dealing with you because you're the one who created the systems and trained your agents So they are sort of dealing with you, not really dealing with you, but you're giving them the impression that they are talking directly with you, even if an agent is answering them. Okay, so you can do that if you like. I prefer, in our business, we like our agents to feel accountable and recognized, and we're transparent about the fact that we have dedicated support people, in this case a dedicated support person, and that's fine. So whatever you want to do for your business. Now, use reply to email address to create requester contacts. I just set this to yes. For forwarded emails, use original sender as requester, send that to yes too. Okay, let's go back to the admin. Oh, and by the way, you click on email again. Here where it says your default support email address is support@justrecordit.freshdesk.com. So what you want to do when you get your support email here is you want to forward set up forwarders, I should say, for all of the email addresses that you want forwarded to this support desk. And you typically do that from within your cPanel or whomever hosts your site and provides your email accounts. You're going to basically say, forward all emails that go to hey@justrecord.it, which is our default email address to contact us, and set it to forward all of those messages to this email right here. And then all of those messages will become tickets. And I find that that's useful not only for receiving support requests, but just for anything related to your business. Keeping it organized in FreshDesk is so much more organized, I guess, to be a bit redundant, than to have it in your email inbox, because your email inbox is already a combination of a lot of different topics and disparate things, business stuff, personal stuff. You may have several businesses. You may have, family members emailing you. In other words, it's not a dedicated email or business space, and it doesn't really give you the tools to tag and organize your emails as well as FreshDesk does, which is meant for that. So that would be my recommendation for that. Let's go back to admin. Now, portals, you can actually create a support portal, which is just kind of like a page, basically, that contains it contains the ability to submit a ticket, and it also contains FAQs or articles, your documentation, etc. For example, I'll just show you a quick example here. MemberMouse, which is a WordPress membership plugin, they recently moved all of their support stuff over to FreshDesk, and this is what their portal looks like. And the portal is customizable, although you do need a little bit of CSS chops to make it look the way you want. But as you can see, they've got a knowledge base, they've got forums, and it's all organized neatly within FreshDesk. And of course, you can submit a support ticket by clicking here. And that's what that looks like. Okay. And again, a lot of this stuff is just click on an icon, read what it says, and then organize the settings the way you want them. It's quite intuitive oftentimes. Okay, general settings. Let's look at help desk. Okay, this is just color stuff. Not really important. Ticket fields. Okay, let's click on that. Okay, this is where you can define and determine which fields you want your tickets to contain. I just leave this as a default. Customer fields, let's click on that. Okay, customer fields, same thing. Now this is cool. This is a cool feature of FreshDesk that I should briefly explain here. So if I click on a ticket, and you can see here's the requester info here. It's giving the info of the individual who sent in the ticket. If we click on that, then we can actually add information about this user. So you can actually create profiles of your customer. Let's say it's Sir Patrick Stewart. And you have his phone number, so you can call him at, whatever the number is, 904, if he's in Florida for some reason. And you could add his Twitter handle, his company, his address. In other words, you can keep your leads and your customers organized and profiled using FreshDesk. So that's pretty cool. That's a cool feature. Because it allows you, especially if you have recurring customers, and I reckon most of the businesses who would be interested in this kind of solution do have a recurring revenue component. You're going to be communicating with the same customers over and over. So naturally, you're going to want to know more about them and fill in info, add a photo, get a personal connection going with them, which they appreciate, and it makes work more fun and enjoyable for you as well, of course, and for your team. Now let's go back to admin. Agents. Let's click on agents. Okay, this is where you assign your agents. Okay, and what I like to do whenever I assign an agent is I give them full permission. See over here, it says ticket scope. Give them global access, make them a member of all groups, and make them an administrator. Let's do that right now, in fact. Okay, which means that they can configure everything in FreshDesk the same way that you can. And I feel that this enables them to own the support experience without having to constantly bug you about it. Okay, so for example, if they need to create some sort of automation, which we're going to look at that in a second, then they don't have to email you saying, hey, I don't have administrator permissions, so I can't create this. Well, so you give them administrator permissions, and then they can. Problem solved. Now let's go back to admin. And I'm going to ignore groups. I'm going to ignore security. I'm going to ignore SLA policies, business hours. Now, I often answer tickets myself on the weekends since I'm always working on the weekends. So I leave the business hours as default. But if you want to categorically say that, look, we're not available on Saturdays and Sundays, sorry, our team needs their downtime, but on Monday we will address your ticket first thing, then that's where you set that up. Now then, excuse me, dispatcher. Let's click on this. This is the really awesome functionality behind FreshDesk, which is the automations. So dispatcher, you can see here it says the dispatcher lets you bring your business rules into your support workflow by performing a predefined set of actions on newly created tickets. For example, you could use the dispatcher to automatically categorize, prioritize, and assign every incoming ticket to the right agent in your team based on the conditions you specify. So basically, you can pre-filter all of your tickets. And so for example, send leads to sales. Well, let's take a look at what that rule actually looks like. Okay, so we're saying that the conditions here are anytime a subject or description contains the word credit card, or anytime a ticket field subject or description contains the word purchase, it's going to automatically assign this ticket as type lead. So you can see that there are several ticket types: lead, question, incident, problem, feature request. It's going to make it a lead, and it's going to assign it to the group sales. Awesome. Okay, so that means that any of your salespeople can pick up this ticket, assign it to themselves, and address it. So that's one kind of rule that you get with the dispatcher. Now there's a supervisor. This is another kind of automation. Okay, and the supervisor, says over here, performs actions on tickets that you specify based on time and event-driven triggers. Okay, let's actually take a look at a real example. And it says, automatically close resolved tickets after 48 hours. Well, definitely if you've resolved a ticket, then there's no reason for it to be open anymore. So in this case, we're saying the status is going to be the status is resolved, okay? And then if the hours since resolution are greater than 48, the action to perform is to close the ticket. Pretty sensible kind of action, and you can set up as many of these as you want. Okay, and you can see here that there are any number of filters that we can use. You can say hours since it was created, hours since it's pending, hours since it's closed. I mean, you really can do pretty much anything here. And what's going to happen is that as you and your team address tickets and find that certain things work and certain things don't, you can bake your changes into these rules directly. Okay, like for example, if you find that a lot of your customers, if you set a ticket to resolved, if you resolve their problem, that they always reply within 24 hours or so and say, hey, thanks for that. Okay, or they follow up and say, hey, what about this other thing? Okay, and if they do that, if they follow up and ask another question, you can set that ticket to reopen. Or if they just say thanks, you can leave it as pending, or as resolved, and then within 48 hours it'll automatically close. So easy peasy. Let's go back to admin. Let's look at another automation type tool. It's called the Observer. Now what does this say? This says Observer lets you trigger specific actions in your support desk as soon as a certain event occurs. For example, you could create an observer rule to alert the big man, I guess that means the boss, when a customer gives an unfavorable satisfaction rating on any ticket. So for example, here are two default rules that come with Observer. The first one is automatically assign ticket to first responder. Well, this is a very sensible rule. If you respond to a ticket, then you're probably the agent who is best able to deal with it. Okay, so in that case, this rule makes total sense. Then the second rule here that comes by default is automatically reopen tickets when the customer responds. Now, I like this rule because what I like to do, let me just show you, this is a personal preference, you don't have to do this, is I feel that all of these statuses, or these stata, are kind of confusing. Okay, so for example, if I reply to this email, I can click send. So you can see here that I can either click the send button or I can get this little drop up that says send and set as pending or resolved or closed or waiting on customer or waiting on third party. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different statuses. Well, in my opinion, there's only really two statuses, open and closed. Okay, either the ticket is resolved or it isn't resolved. Okay, so what I do is as soon as I send a reply, whatever that reply is, I set the ticket as closed. Now remember that as soon as somebody replies to that ticket, it's going to reopen anyway. So as far as I'm concerned and as far as our team is concerned, once we've addressed a ticket and we set it to closed, we've done all we need to do for the time being. Now, if the customer has a follow-up question or they don't feel like the issue is resolved, they're going to reply anyway, and the ticket's going to reopen anyway. So there's no reason, you see, to leave it open. That just clutters up your inbox. So in my opinion, and this is just my preference, anytime you send any kind of reply, always send and set as closed. Okay? Now your help desk needs could be more subtle than ours, in which case you may indeed wish to use all of these different options. But I thought I would just offer our understanding. Okay, so we've looked at dispatcher, supervisor, observer. Now let's look at two more things here. Scenario automations. Now, scenario automations are cool because what they do is they allow you to perform a bunch of actions with one click. So for example, here I'm looking at that same ticket that we were just looking at. Now if I click on scenarios, you can see that all of the available scenarios populate in the screen. And so let's look, for example, at this assign to QA scenario. If I click on edit, okay, it's going to bring up the actions that are taken when this scenario is executed. So in this case, the actions are set the type of ticket as problem. okay? Assign to group QA. Okay, quality assurance, I guess that means. And make it available for all of the agents. Cool, let's look at another example. Let's look at the mark as feature request automation. Okay, so if you want to mark something as a feature request, you run this automation just by clicking execute. And then what it's going to do is it's going to set the ticket type as feature request and assign it to the group product management. Now, another really cool use for this automations tool is what I like to do is anytime a customer asks for a refund, I create an automation that looks like this. Let me actually create one real quick so you can sort of see how it works. Okay, and we'll call it customer asks for a refund. And the description is going to be ask customer why they're requesting a refund. And that's it, right? So we're going to say select action. We're going to send an email to the requester. Okay, say subject and then we'll select the ticket subject. Okay, and then we'll say hi, name of the requester first name. I'm happy to help with your refund request. May I please ask what you found unsatisfactory about the product? Get this out of the way. Thanks. And then we'll put the name of the agent replying. Where is the agent name? Agent name, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're also going to set the ticket, set the status as closed, okay? So for the same reason that I just explained, okay? So that they're going to reply and it's going to reopen anyway, and in the meantime, let's just leave it out of the inbox altogether, okay? And we'll make it available for all agents. So let's click save. And now, whenever somebody emails us and asks for a refund, we're going to run this automation every time, and that way we're going to build a database that goes in a spreadsheet. This is kind of one of our internal tricks that we use to track customer satisfaction and also just to track how customers feel about our product. All of their replies are going to go in a spreadsheet. So we're going to build a database of the reasons why people request refunds. Okay, so you can see how that might be helpful as you're iterating your product and trying to improve it and maybe even build out some ancillary products as well. So that is the scenario automations tool. Now, email notifications, I should briefly touch on this. You can configure this however you want. I try to set it so that, and I guess I haven't set this on here yet, but I'll just do it while I'm on the video with you. This determines whether or not the agent is going to receive an email when the action in question happens. So for example, if a ticket is assigned to a group, will the agent receive an email? If it's on, yes, he will. But man, look at all of these emails that your agents are going to receive. Or if you're doing the support, these are emails that you're going to receive. So I just turn all this crap off. Okay, because again, you're going to be in FreshDesk answering tickets probably daily anyway. Do you really want to clutter up your email inbox? Probably not. It's just going to get annoying and convoluted. And the same thing goes for the person creating the ticket. So, if I'm your customer and I send you a support request, I don't need to get an update, when the ticket, when the agent creates a new ticket or when they add a comment, or does this or that. I just want an answer to my problem and a solution to the issue that I brought up. So all of this is unnecessary, in my opinion, okay? I prefer a minimalistic approach to communication. You either solve the problem and then you let them know that you have, and that's it, or you haven't solved it. So there's no reason to annoy them. And there's no reason to carbon copy anybody about any of this stuff either, okay? Because you're going to see all of that stuff as soon as you log into FreshDesk. And if you have a dedicated agent, or even if you're doing this stuff yourself, you're going to be in there once a day or once every other day anyway. So why distract yourself needlessly? It's best to keep this stuff compartmentalized, in my opinion. So that is a really useful thing, to turn off all those email notifications. Now, canned responses, these are nice too, because a lot of times you will find that people ask you the same thing over and over and over again. And does it really make sense to type it all out a million times? No, of course not. So that being the case, you can create a canned replies. So for example, if somebody emails us and says, hey, I want to know how much it costs to have 4 podcasts produced per month, or like how much does your service cost? And I'll say the response title is going to be pricing. Okay, we'll call it we'll just call it pricing. We'll say, hi, insert the placeholder of the requester first name. You can find our pricing at http://justrecord.it/pricing. Thanks. And then we'll put the agent name. Okay, and so you can create as many of these canned responses as you need in order to, and make it available for all your agents, of course, as you need to reply to repetitive questions. Okay, so again, all of this stuff just saves you a lot of time, especially as your business grows and scales. You're going to want to make more and more use of these automations and bake them into your business procedures. Email commands, okay, these are hotkeys basically. Okay, so you can play with this. I don't really use this stuff because I don't answer that many tickets myself. Integrations, you can integrate with Slack or any other number of apps. We do integrate with Slack because what we do is we have FreshDesk, and I'll show you what I mean here. Justrecorded.slack.com/ So for example, and actually I haven't done this yet. Oh, I have done this. Okay, perfect. So we've created a channel called support, and all of the tickets get fed into this channel. And what this allows us to do is basically, while we're working, we always have Slack on. We're always chatting on Slack and resolving issues here. So we're already here. So we don't really need to keep FreshDesk open, but we can just sort of see that the ticket's coming in, okay, and is this something that needs to be addressed now, or can I let this sit or let another agent take care of it? And so it's just like a brief a ticker for your support tickets, so that you can sort of know, should this be ignored or should this be addressed right away? Okay, so that's what's useful about this particular integration. But as you can see, that you can integrate with a whole bunch of different stuff, and which you may or may not wish to do. Okay, and that's about it. So the rest of the stuff is account, billing, plans and billing, passes, etc. And that's pretty much how FreshDesk works. It's pretty simple, and when in doubt, just play around with all these settings, and it will all come together, as it's quite an intuitive application. And I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please just leave them below, and I will be happy to help in any way I can. Thanks.